Hello and welcome everyone to Twin Flames, the great spiritual awakening podcast, where every week you can hear real life stories from people who answered the call of divine love. I'm Dennis. I'm a certified ascension coach with Twin Flames Universe, and I've been on my twin flame journey for several years now, and I'm in union with my twin flame thanks to the teachings of union at twinflamesuniverse.com. And today we are here with episode 3, and I am really happy to welcome Laurentiu and Alexandra here with me today, who are twin flames in Harmonious Union. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
Very happy to have you. And yeah, one thing about you, as you know, I was thinking, okay, what can I ask you today? What is your union all about? The first thing that came up for me was like, you're like the longest standing harmonious union that we have in our community, next to Jeff and Julia, of course.
True.
Yeah.
That's
go ahead.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to put it. Yes.
Yes. You came in Harmonious Union, I think pretty close, like exactly 3 years ago, if I'm correct. It was around this time in 2019.
Yes, it was before Toronto with 1 month or something like that.
Well, it's like in the 21st, it's our like anniversary.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh, April. Oh, May. You mean May?
May, yes.
Oh,
21st of May.
That's awesome. So we're really close. Like it's in about 2 weeks.
Yes.
Wow. Well, congratulations in advance.
Thank you.
And you know, with that, since we're touching on that, I'm wondering, like one of the very first things that we hear when we, like for any person that starts finding the teachings of union, Jeff and Julia, Twin Flames Universe, and you know, we start healing separation, a very basic principle that we hear from the very beginning is separation isn't real. And I know when I found Twin Flames Universe and I heard that for the first time, I was like, okay, separation isn't real, union is real, and we're just healing separation. I understand that on some level, I can grasp it on some level. And then as you advance on your journey and you heal, you're beginning more and more to have like a spiritual and emotional understanding of what it means that separation isn't real. And then obviously, as you come into union, you're in a state of union, and then in harmonious union, you're experiencing a state of harmonious union with God, yourself, your twin flame. So I'm wondering for you, like, what is your perspective on like separation consciousness, having been in harmonious union for such a long time? When you think back on like the time that you were in separation, is that feeling to you like the surreal thing of, oh my God, I can so totally understand how like it was all like an illusion and not true? Or like, how do you look at separation?
What's that? that's my best answer.
Yeah, it's, you know, it is a thing. And I think Jeff and Julia also mentioned at some point that sometimes kind of they go back and remember about when they were like in like separation, and it was like, oof, that was an experience, you know. And it kind of, whenever like kind of we go back and think about when we were in separation, we are grateful, not because we see the separation between us, because we don't see it. Like the more like we have explored our past and the choices that we made, we see like, okay, it's kind of like we were coordinated all the time. Like it's kind of crazy how, you know, well aligned and one we were in the choices that we made in order to meet each other. However, that doesn't mean that we didn't experience a lot of contrast in romantic relationships. And that's where I'm like, my God, I don't have to go to that again. God bless. I'm like, it's a feeling of being like very lucky in a way, loved, because of this. Like, of course, separation is not real, but you do go to that experience, and it's so good to not have that experience anymore.
Exactly. You know, in a way, like every time we go there, as Alexandra said, like in a place where we experienced separation previously, if we sit with that and just allow ourselves to see it from God's perspective, we're able to actually see how there wasn't separation there to begin with. And that's like when you ask, okay, so how was it then when it was separation? It was more like right now maybe like every time we go there, we realize there's no separation, even though we go there to check for where we hold separation within ourselves.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's it.
That's really interesting. So would you say that like the more you heal, the more you like what is your experience as you continue healing and going deep into your harmonious union of like how do you experience coming deeper into harmonious union? What is that like for you?
Well, with each level of going deeper in your harmonious union, you feel again like a baby each time. What I mean by that is that whenever you reach the next level in your harmonious union, as we do, you get to, how to say, the next level is kind of like you don't know how it is.
Yes, this is something that we constantly experience where we're like stable, grounded, feeling good, partnership amazing, communication amazing, everything amazing. And then nothing just works anymore. And we're like, what happened? And that's usually when we say, okay, this is the next cycle, we're going deeper. And, you know, it's kind of funny in a way how it happens for us, since we've experienced it quite a few times already, that oh, okay, it's that moment where we don't know what's happening again, and we just have to heal, and we know it's just a place where we're going deeper. And usually after we're going deeper and heal to that level and we get back into that place that communication is good again, partnership is good again, everything else is good again, we have not only what we had before but more. And that's what, you know, comes with the deepening of your harmonious union. And you might always think, oh, this is amazing, this is great, but there's always like kind of room for improvement. And actually this is something that comes from Romance Attraction e-course from Twin Flames Universe. Jeff and Shilia mentioned that how you can always go deeper and deeper with your twin flame. And that's really, we're kind of experiencing that in our own ways in our lives, that always expanding of romance, of love, of partnership, of everything. And it's really, really amazing.
Beautiful. How did you two actually meet for the first time?
Well, how did we met? Well, in university. And the first time that I saw her, I was very mad at her. Because she was sitting in this yoga pose on the ground, and at that point I didn't know much about yoga and things like this, and probably she didn't. I mean, from what I know, she didn't honestly. You just sit in the yoga.
I was just sitting kind of like in a lotus position on the floor. So just background, we were I came to the city where we live in now. It's a kind of university city. There's a lot of universities, and it was the season when we would sign up for university, basically.
When we go to register to it.
Yeah, exactly. And we had, because we both sign up to obviously the same
university.
Yes, and like how to say, like department. Yes, thank you. We had like an English exam because we both took computer science in English. So therefore we had to do additionally an English exam. So we were in front of the room where we were like supposed to be examinated, waiting for the teacher to come in and assess our English level. And that's where I was like, I woke up at 5 a.m. to get my ass from the countryside to the university, to the big city, so to say. And I was tired and I just wanted to sit down. And I wasn't caring about that. I was like, I just need the moment. I just need to sit. It's been a lot. I've gone through a lot with the process, and I just needed that. And Laurentiu was like, who's this person sitting on the floor?
Like for me, it's such a hilarious moment and like memory for me, because I remember that I was so upset at her, and I was like, I was telling others around me, oh my God, I'm so upset. How can she still like that on the ground? Because the floor, it's not maybe clean up, because like, I mean, people walk around there, so therefore it's gonna
it
be
was crazy in the university, a lot of people and everything.
Yeah, so for me it was absurd, but still I couldn't take my attention off her. And that's how how it started for us. It doesn't sound like the usual love story, you know, like with twin flames. Oh my God, felt so in love with this person. But yeah, that's kind of how we met. But just another background information is that I finished like the degree to be able to attend university.
Yes.
1 year before Alexandra, but I felt to stay 1 year home and then apply for university. And this was where like we chose to get to the same university, because I went to school 1 year earlier. Alexandra went normally, so therefore she finished normally and she just applied to university, but I waited 1 year and then I applied to university. And
I see.
Yes. And that's how kind of Laurentiu first saw me. Like I wasn't in a space where I noticed. I wasn't looking for any guys in particular. I was just sitting there, just wanting to get over with my English exam. And then afterwards, obviously, we both got in, and we met later on, like when we had like actual courses and everything after I moved into the city and all of that. So that's where our friendship kind of started to develop.
I mean, I don't know if the first time, like when we kind of like you kind of started noticing me was like when I asked you to, I mean, when I invited you to show you the town.
Yeah, exactly. It was really nice because, you know, I was in a new city. I had no idea. Everything seemed very intimidating, right? But at the same time, I was like excited. I'm in a new city. Stuff is happening, you know, and I was really kind of looking forward to explore and see what the city has to offer. And Laurentiu was the first person, you know, he's from the city. He's like native, so to say. And he was like, oh, I'm going to show you around. And that's kind of where we bonded and started like the friendship deeper, because he became kind of my
local
mentor.
Guide.
Yes, my local guide.
Yep.
That's so sweet. When you look back at that time now, because obviously like unknowingly back then, like you met your twin flame, and looking back at that now, were there like did something happen in your life? Like where did you have like, I don't know, something like a spiritual awakening before that, or any signs in your life, anything that happened that like led to you actually meeting back then?
Well, for me personally, it all started a few years back when my parents got divorced. That was like a bit of a shocking experience, because I was like, wait, so you can be 20 years with a person and not work out? That doesn't seem right for me personally. Like something seems incredibly wrong if this can happen, you know. And I experienced it firsthand with my parents, and I was like, no, this needs to change. And around that time, I did unknowingly, it doesn't look like it, I did a switch in what I did in my life purpose. Until that point, I wanted to pursue chemistry and I wanted to become some sort of chemist. And I did a lot of things with chemistry. And then I was like, actually, no, software development. And I did this switch within myself. And that's when I chose to go to this university. And also, obviously that was like me kind of going deeper in discovering my life purpose and choosing my life purpose, which ultimately led me to my twin flame. But I think one other important choice was that when I had the mantra for when I left for university, I didn't have a specifically beautiful childhood, or it wasn't that wow amazing. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be my rebirth. We're starting over right now. I'm 18. I'm just starting life. So this is going to be a fresh new start for me. Nobody knows me, nobody anything. This is amazing. Let's start with a clean slate. And I think like also that choice helped me in, you know, finding him.
Yeah, because like for me, like as well, like I feel at 18 years old is the moment that I made as well the choice. Exactly on my birthday, I made the choice like, no, I choose to find myself, to see who I am, to feel good with myself. Because for me, I was never feeling actually good. I was in a state of always feeling bad with myself, always feeling uh, depressed, having all those kind of feelings of like just being let down, like being shame, guilt, you name it. So therefore, like on my birthday on 18 years old, I just decided that I don't want any more of that, and I'm going to find a way to solve all of that. So that was when I started to dive deep into like know myself, and like for me, like I had to take it more step by step. I didn't found about spirituality immediately. I found about personal development, and I kind of kept growing on the ladder until I got to spirituality later on.
I see. So when you then met and you became friends, how did that turn into you? Because you came together as a couple before you even found Twin Flames Universe.
Yes.
How did all of that went down? And then when was the moment when you came upon the term twin flames and started exploring potentially being twin flames?
Well, just to say another thing about our meeting point, like when I invited Alexandra out, for me it was a date, for her it was a date. And actually from then I kind of like wanted to, like, I was assuming the position to kiss her, but she was like, no, I have a boyfriend. And I was like, oh. But then I was like, okay. Like I was very much like in a space where I wanted to I was respecting others' boundary very well. I was very good at that. I didn't want it to break others' boundary. It didn't feel good to me because I didn't want others to break my boundaries. So therefore, I just, like I respected her boundary and just became friends. From then on, we just stayed friends, and we kind of like become best friends because like in that time we got to know each other very well, sharing very deep things from our lives and things that maybe we haven't said to anybody else, and just like cry on each other's shoulders when we need to.
And have fun as well.
Yeah, and have fun.
We were like, I was visiting Laurentiu, we were playing video games together. He would come to my dorm room and hang out and do things. And, that's, it was a really fun time.
Watching movies together.
Yes, there was sexual tension. I would not deny that. There was.
She was sometimes doing intentionally, and like, I was
Maybe.
having hard time.
I was playing.
Maybe.
I was just playing.
Okay. See.
Yeah, that is, I didn't know any better. Maybe.
Okay. Don't share too many information.
No, it's okay. Nothing happened then.
Yeah, like not like actually like before we got together, nothing. We didn't get intimately, like sexual or anything like that. We didn't even kiss before that. We were really respecting each other's boundary in that moment.
Yeah,
that's where we were. But like,
and I tested him. Like, if he would have broken anything, he would have been out of my life immediately, I think. But he didn't. He was a strong man.
I had to endure a lot. What can I say? Anyway, like moving forward with our friendship, like at some point, like I moved out of the city because I dropped out of university because I didn't felt called to move forward in this path. So I wanted to find more myself. So for that, I was already in some, I had some spiritual knowledge, and I was at the point that actually like, I felt called to go into UK. So I went into United Kingdoms in London, around there, and I started working there, and just started to just, follow that intuition of go there, and I'm going to see how I'm going to find myself. And through that, I just kind of kept following my feelings, and I found ways to, people to help me to develop pen courses and things like this. So I developed myself spiritually, and in that time that I was there in UK, I haven't really spoke with Alexandra. We haven't really had a lot of connection.
That was kind of like our separation period. If you like, we had no contact for a long period of time. And for me, when he went to England, I was like, okay, I just lost my best friend. And I was like, I'm at peace with that. We're gonna move through this one way or another. And I was kind of, I know it sounds bad, but I was used to having people that I love, just kind of disappear at some point in my life. So it was hard, but at the same time, it was like, it's okay. I respect him, and he's doing this for himself. And I wouldn't want, our friendship to keep him from, being himself or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So if you love them, set them free. So that's kind of what I did.
Yeah. And it felt very good for me because I was able to, find myself more, because in that moment I wasn't in a space where I could really have a healthy relationship, because I still had a lot of codependent patterns and things that I was moving through. So being in a relationship at that point wouldn't be healthy for us, because it wouldn't be just like,
especially because we didn't know we were twin flames. We didn't know the mirroring. We had no spiritual tools to handle what was to come.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't just compassionate for us at the time. And I kind of, in that moment, what we felt was happening, I continued with my university and kind of doing this thing in my life purpose, while Laurentiu went out to search the way for us to kind of
heal.
Yeah,
and I found something to support us for the time being, until we found this community. But like, I really needed to be grounded in a certain spiritual, let's say, practice. So I'm able to maintain a certain vibration in our relationship. And like, what happened, like, let's say, after I got mastered, because like, I remember perfectly the moment when I got to the place where I knew that I felt really good in that moment. It felt like I was able to move to the next step in my life. And that state was a state where I myself felt like I'm happy with God. And I know that there's someone out there for me. And I'm not going to try to push myself to find it. I'm not going to I'm not going to settle. I just want the best, what's best for me. So therefore, I was just happy with being with God. And whenever that relationship that God promised in my heart, because I had that desire, I just was like, okay, God, whenever that happens, it's going to happen. Until then, I'm just going to have fun with you. I'm going to feel at peace with you. I'm not going to be like whiny or, oh, I miss this person, or like I want that person next to me. No, I had no more of that. All of that about like wanting a person next to me from a place of lack has disappeared. And I was just in a place, I'm happy. I'm happy even if that person won't be necessarily with me for, I don't know, my entire life, because I'm at peace and I'm happy with God. And from that space, that's a space where usually people actually get into a grounded place, into their union, where you actually can, you can maintain a relationship. You're prepared, because it's a very peaceful space. And what happened to me afterwards, I just felt to like speak with Alexandra all of a sudden, that I haven't spoken in a long time, and just wrote to her. And we started discussing, and I just started sharing about what I was doing in my spiritual findings. And from there, like, Alexandra, oh, this is a bit weird, and things like this, But then, like, then I invited her if she wanted to try some of the things, or to hear more of that. I wasn't pushing anything onto her. I wasn't like, you need to hear this, or this is the best thing, or just more like, okay, this is what I'm doing and this is what I love.
Yeah, and he was speaking about it like with such passion that even if I was like kind of creeped out a bit, I was also interested. You know what I mean? I was also like, it's like this is weird, but kind of hot. Maybe I'm gonna try it a little bit and see what happens. Now we're here. We know what happened.
Yeah, but like for us, like, it happened that I kind of helped her. I helped her to move a bit through her feelings. And actually the partner that she had at the time, the ex-boyfriend, to say so, a hairbrush, was, as they were together, I actually helped him move through his feelings. because he was like, what's with this guy? And then I was
he
like,
had the coaching session with me, and he had like a few kind of coaching sessions with me. And then I was sharing, about my relationship and what was happening. And at some point, Laurentiu just offered to kind of have like a coaching session with both of us. So we had a coaching session with both of us.
Oh my God.
It was a interesting experience, to say the least.
yes. But at the time I didn't know exactly, like just another mention here. I knew I still had feelings for Alexandra, but she had that boundary of like, she didn't express that to me, and she made it very clear to the point. So I knew that until she would say otherwise, I wouldn't, I would respect her boundary. I wouldn't push that onto her. I would still have a relationship with her, and just, but the other part, I wouldn't put it in between our friendship. I wouldn't kind of force it. So then, like, as I did that, at some point, the more I was helping her heal and him heal, the more she was not being able to have a good time with her ex. And the ex was getting more and more upset about me. And then the more and more until I kind of like had the desire in my heart, if Alexandra actually like loves me, personally, to say it, because I'm like, I know I said it, I express it, and I wanted to see like a step from her, if that's something, because as we kept healing, I kind of felt more and more attraction to her. And for me, I was like, okay, I'm not going to break the boundary, but I'm still going to respect my feelings. I'm not going to dishonor them. And then as we kept doing that, what happened?
Yeah, it was interesting, because as he was helping me heal, I was getting into a place where I was assessing, my relationship with my ex, and how it felt for me. And I think, like I can say, I was also, I gave people chances, but I was kind of quick to see if the relationship wasn't going to work. I was like, because I think what happened with my parents, I always had this kind of question in my mind of like, what will happen if this is how relationship is right now? What will happen maybe in 5 or 10 years when we have children, when we have responsibilities, when we have, maybe financial issues to go through? How will we handle that if we're having maybe these issues right now here? And I was kind of assessing all of this, seeing how the relationship went, how he obviously was trying to, he got a lot of like insecure in our relationship because Laurentiu kind of came up, and like, it's totally understandable, right? But just like assessing everything, I was like, there's something off here, and I was speaking with him, and usually I had this thing with my exes where I would express what felt wrong in the relationship, or where we needed to grow, better said. And I was like, hey, I don't feel good in this area, and I would like for us to grow, and I feel this is the way that we should grow. And they were like, okay, let's do it. They wouldn't do it. Then we would break up. And then they were like, oh, let's do it now. And I'm like, too late, honey, too late. And I'm sorry, I gave you the window here to do the thing that, to apply the changes that we both agreed upon, and you didn't follow through. Door
the train
closed.
has left.
Yes, the train has left the station, baby. There's not coming back. And that's what they kind of did with him for like a few weeks, where we kind of assessed some deeper parts of our relationship. And I just didn't see, we were kind of like investing at this point also like in this spiritual healing that we were doing with Laurentiu. So it wasn't like we weren't doing anything about it. We were talking about it. We were healing about it. We were willing to look at things. It just didn't connect, So for me, I was like, that's not okay. And I don't think that that's how it should be. Like, it's for me, like, I always felt, if I am with someone, yes, we have challenges. That's part of being in a relationship and living life, but we should be able to move through these challenges together with ease. And that was simply just not happening. It was like grinding teeth, and I was like, okay, let's just reassess. And then I had to reassess with myself. And I was like, okay, how do I feel? Not so good. I was starting to get attracted to Laurentiu. That was also not good in helping with this situation, right? And I was like, ooh, okay. And then I had just this moment of realization of, you know, Laurentiu has always been there for me ever since I kind of stepped into the city, you know, and he's made himself known that he wants to have a relationship with me. And I was like, why am I just like looking anywhere else if this is this easy? You know, I want it to be easy. Why am I making it complicated? And you know, it was obvious that the moment I kind of just allowed myself to, okay, it can be easy. You know, that's what I'm searching. I don't want my parents' relationship. I don't want to go through like that level of contrast, you know. And I was like, okay, so then let it be easy. And I just kind of surrendered into that. And it was easy afterwards for me to kind of assess my true feelings for Laurentiu and see that, yeah, it's actually that easy. There was love there all along. Big surprise, right? Wow. So of course it was love there all along, but I wasn't willing to accept it. And I thought it had to be like different, or I had an impression of how it should feel like. I was wrong. And I had to like let go of that and surrender. And, you know, we were together ever since then.
But there's one more element that you're forgetting. I had to have a beard. You
had to have a beard. Yes.
I had to have a beard.
I didn't recognize Laurentiu without the beard.
This is more like a joke, but in the same time, like it's some truth in that. It's more like me getting to allow myself to be myself, and that's when I allow myself to have the beard. So the beard for me was like a very it was a huge spiritual process to even have it, because of the culture that I'm coming through and because of the beliefs about it. And there was a lot of pushback for me. So me moving through that, I managed to find myself and actually like myself. I started to fall in love more with myself, and that's what the beard represents to me.
Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, I just want to take a quick moment to reflect on everything that you said, because, you know, one thing that a lot of people, like one of the most common, let's say, problems that people encounter on this journey is actually that a twin flame is with someone else. It's a really common thing. And your story so far is like the perfect demonstration of how to move through that, and how to, you know, while you, Laurentiu, were doing the spiritual healing and then Alexandra joined you in that, the relationship that she had with like the ex, like the fake partner, so to say, like really naturally and easily fell away. And that's just like, you know, like, yeah, a perfect example of how it's done. And you also added that element, you know, that you really, while you were going through the experience that you had, you loved each other unconditionally with what you had to experience, and just accepted, okay, this is what the other person is going through. I'm just going to allow them to go through that and have their experience and learn what they need to learn. And you really, you know, what you mentioned a couple of times, Laura, you really respected each other's boundary and really respected each other in your experiences and in your choices and in what you had to learn. And that's a really, really beautiful and profound thing.
Yeah, something that I think Jeff and Shalia say in the book Twin Flames, Finding Your Ultimate Lover, and I think it's about 8 Keys of Harmonious Union, unconditional love, is that it's important for you to like unconditionally love your twin flame, because if you do that and you accept them unconditionally through whatever challenge they're moving through, you actually help them move faster through it. Because I'm just thinking that if Laurentiu wouldn't have done that, I would have to deal with crazy ex and crazy Laurentiu at the same time. I would have 2 issues on my plate, and it would be a bit too much. I had to figure out my ex situation. I didn't need an upset now. Yes, a crazy twin flame on my plate as well. But instead I had, you know, a loving and supportive Laurentiu that was, you know, just like, okay, you're having issues in your relationship. I'm willing to help you. Let's look at it. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because, you know, he was my best friend. He's my best friend. And, you know, I felt, safe in confiding in him and, having that, okay, I can talk about my relationship and, he's a man, he can give me advices about how to deal with men because of having issues with dealing with men right now in my life. So what better way to get an advice than from a man? And
And also like we already built that relationship or talking about stuff like that because we spoke about previous relationships that Alexandra had and we moved through that. I know we were helping each other through things like this. So.
Yes, it's kind of wild that one of the first things that we started talking about with each other was, okay, it was university and city, but the first more intimate thing, it was exes. That's the first thing that we started talking as friends. Like it was very funny, like in the first days that kind of Laurentiu mentioned, it was like he was like trying to hit on me and do like the sweet moves to steal a kiss, and like an hour later he was crying about his ex-girlfriend. And I was like, okay, sir, we I'm happy I didn't take the kiss because you're a mess right now. Like I was having compassion, but also I was like, okay, I didn't experience what he went through, and I was just having compassion and holding space.
I had like a more tougher experience with whom I believe to be my first twin flame experience.
I see.
So yeah.
You know what is really so lovely about your story like so far? It's, and also there's like so many funny elements to it. Like you could absolutely like make a movie out of this. But what I really find like extremely beautiful is just seeing how, how Jeff and Cher say that when it comes to twin flames, it's really this ordinal of like guru student, and you become best friends and partners and then lovers. And like in your stories, like you can really see how you grew this like really stable, deep friendship with each other. And then when the time came for you to go deeper in like your shared life purpose and as lovers, you were really easily able to just like build that on the foundation that you had already built as friends, and like you really quickly moved into these other areas.
Yes.
Yeah, that was essential for us. The friendship, the fact that we had the friendship and then we develop it, then it helped us like tremendously just have a relationship and just partner with each other.
Exactly. It was, and this is something I just eventually always say in Twin Flame Ascension School, and we relate so much with it because we lived it. It's how important it is to build this relationship. And because after we were like in union, it was so easy. I remember that one time we were at one of Laurentiu's friend's house, and we were just having some alcoholic beverages and laughing and all of that. And his friend accidentally mentioned his ex, and then I saw on his face how he panicked, and he was like, no, I didn't mean that. Like he was like, okay, like everything. He was trying to like apologize to me because he brought up the ex in the conversation, and I'm like, honey, it's fine. I know everything about that ex. Like that's not here to be like,
oh my god.
But because conversations like that about former partners, can shake up a relationship. But for us, we were like so transparent with each other. It was like, there's nothing to be worried here. I know everything.
Yeah, but anyway, like it's funny because in the same time that it's kind of funny that that person even thought that way, but like that's usually like the way people think when they have a soulmate relationship, because they have to keep things from each other. So in a way, for him to drop that, he was like, oh no, the relationship is gonna fall apart. I made the relationship to fall apart, because then like afterwards he invited me out so we can have a talk, so we could he kind of to help me resolve it, but I was like, there's nothing to be resolved.
Yes, he was like very concerned that he brought an ex in the conversation, and we were like, it's fine, just can't. Let's relax here. That was like, you're making it way bigger than it seems, and at least like for us, but again, I see how in other relationships, because you don't address these kind of things, it's shaky.
Yeah, exactly. And one more mention that I want to say about like the way we went through, like we went through the way we went through, and it's perfect for us, but I see like teaching of union have a much faster way to go through, because in the classes, Jeff and Shah show us, like how we could have done this a lot faster. It would have been a bit more intense, but
if we had the teachings like when we were in university, we could have gotten together.
Yeah, we probably would be already together from that point if we had the teaching.
Yeah.
Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And that actually leads me perfectly into the next part where once you were in a committed relationship, how did you then come upon the term twin flame and then found Jeff and Shalia and Twin Flames Universe? How did all of that happen?
Well, when it comes to twin flames, I kind of had a period where I forgot totally about the term, but when I was in UK, at some point I heard about it. And at some point I started having what I would call downloads about it. And then I kind of starting to go a bit crazy with my intuition about it. And I had to put a boundary with myself with that. Because of course, later on I found out that those information were actually aligned with what twin flames were. Not necessarily weren't aligned with what I was hearing from others, which was kind of weird. But then I kind of put it, on stop. I wasn't really thinking about it. When I actually contacted Alexandra, I didn't talk about twin flames at all.
Yeah.
I just followed what felt good to me. And I knew that I felt like she would be the perfect partner for me, even though I didn't thought twin flame, even if that means twin flame.
Yeah. I think previously to Twin Flames Universe, I read an article about twin flames and I saw usually the flaming couple, the girl is like a divine feminine is like a red flame and the divine masculine is blue flame. And I was going to that and I was reading and I was like, this seems like bullshit. And I closed it and it's I don't care about twin flames.
I see.
And I'm not gonna entertain this idea because it seems very bad. It's no. And it was all of that information about the stages and runner chaser, huge awakening and huge big pain. And I was no, I don't want any of that. Thank you. No.
Okay.
And but then afterwards we were spiritually healing and I think
we're doing that every day. We were kind of having a practice.
Yes. But at some point we hit a point where we wanted to go faster and easier, we're big fans of faster and easier healing. And what we were doing was really, right now we feel compared to the mirror exercise, very energetically taxing on us to do.
Yeah, because it was, just to describe a bit, it was requiring a lot more senses to be active, or a lot more, let's say, I would just say from the point of mirror exercise requires you more to just feel and just imagine. Doesn't imply I don't know any more than that or any more than those senses. That healing required more than that, so it required you to put a lot more energy into it.
And we were always just looking for the easier way. And at first we were just, I think for a year, we just kind of did our own thing, the best that we could with what we had. But afterwards we were okay, we need to grow here. We need to go deeper. And that's kind of when we made kind of this call within ourselves and started researching a little bit. For Laurentiu, I think you're researching to see if there were some spiritual communities here that we could connect to, because he had a spiritual community in UK. And that wasn't the case anymore as he came back. So we were kind of wanted to find our tribe again, because we were tribeless, and we were okay, we need to be in a tribe. And we were searching. And that's when we met actually somebody from the community who, after we did some healing with her, she introduced us to Twin Flames Universe. So actually the first introduction, we actually just literally watched the very first class. That's was the first thing that we saw. And we had the book, but we read a little bit the book, but we weren't okay, I'm gonna dedicate myself to it. We had a little bit of some months of in-betweenness, and then we watched the class and we were oh, actually this is the good stuff, so we're gonna go in now.
Yeah, but the major factor that got us to want to join the school, the major thing is Jeff and Shah love video games. that was one of our major things why we joined, because like we can relate so much with them. They're young, they're together, they like video games. Okay, we're in.
Oh my
Yes.
God, that's
And they speak about
really
the
cool.
woo spiritual stuff. Oh my God, they're amazing people. And, you know, like we just fell in love with them then. And it was like, yeah, this is the place that we want to be in. And we had to, when we joined Twin Flame Ascension School and started doing the mirror exercise like properly as our spiritual practice, we kind of had this thing of like, okay, we're gonna forget everything else, you know, all of that information, just take it aside and try this twin flame thing, you know.
100%, kind of like putting everything that we knew, like with the previous techniques and practice aside, to just practice this one thing, to be sure if it works for us. And we were like, okay, not just a couple of days, a couple of months, do it for 3-6 months, and then we reassess, did it work, did it not?
Yes,
because you cannot assess it in a month or like something like that.
Yeah, you have to like allow yourself to learn the spiritual practice, in like integrate it in your routine and everything. And we were quite aware of that we were like, okay, let's just like go all in, forget about everything else that we know, and like go do the mirror exercise and go deeper with the teachings of union. So that's what we did, and we're still here. So,
and we arrived in Harmonious Union because of that.
And we're married.
Oh. Yes.
Oh.
You're taking away all the questions I meant to ask you. But it's okay. So what you just mentioned, so you tried it on for 3 to 6 months. What happened within those 3 to 6 months? What made you stay?
Of course, we had success from way earlier than that, you know, like even in the first weeks, we started experiencing better results. But because we went all in and we tried that, we saw our whole life changing, more like even from outside, but from within a lot. The way we were feeling and the way we were experiencing each other changed a lot, like drastically. Our relationship became much more peaceful, and we wouldn't have so much bad feelings with each other, or like have, let's say,
as in like the upsets that came up wouldn't like stay
affect us as much. Wouldn't affect us as much, or like stay as much, let's say.
Yes, for us it was a huge thing, because we, coming back to what we said, like, we wanted to heal easier and faster, right? So for us to do the mirror exercise, for a while we were like, oh my God, this is so easy. Why would you not do this? Why would you do everything else? Like nothing else matters right now. And we were like in this thing where it just felt so good for us to do the mirror exercise that we were like, I'm not stopping. Like there's nothing, you know, because it was really like potent for us to experience that healing, and also exploring twin flames from this healthy perspective and looking at it for how Jeff and Shalia teach it and how it's presented in the teachings of union. It was like, oh, okay, this makes sense and I can relate to this. This is also grounded. I can apply this in my life. This is pristine information right here. Like this is not some weird thing that it's, I don't know, it didn't connect with me as, you know, the previous things did. Like this really hit home for me, and I was like, yeah, this is the real thing. And even if like Laurentiu and I didn't call each other twin flames, we could see how through everything that they were sharing, it was like, yeah, we went through that and we go through this, and oh my God, this is why that thing happened and this is how to fix it. Incredible, you know. So we had like a huge, you know, kind of like downloads and understandings in the first 3 to 6 months, that it was like, yeah, of course we're going to continue. Like, yeah, it was obvious.
We had a lot of process with that, and that's why we needed that space from any other technique. Because for us, we did realize, you know, that, you know, like even though the other technique might feel good, but the amount that we needed to give in order to feel good was not worth it. When we had mirror exercise, when you didn't have to put so much into it in order to get the like the other technique wasn't selling on us anymore.
Yes, exactly. And I kind of remember Jeff mentioning something like this, either in a Twin Flame Ascension School class or Life Purpose class, where he was sharing about efficiency. And if you were to buy for the same price, a blender that would make you a smoothie in 5 minutes and a blender that would make you a smoothie, same exact smoothie, in 10 seconds, which one would you choose?
The latter one. I mean,
Obviously the faster. Yes, exactly. So that's why we were like, yeah. And we had like a lot of moments like this, but we were like, oh, we get this. Oh, this is, yeah. And we related with Jeff and Shlia so much in like their way of thinking, but also we learned a lot in other areas where we weren't like as, we didn't have as much understanding, and we still learn a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I really enjoy is that a lot of the things, you know, that even when I was in UK and I got those kind of downs about twin flames, they were kind of confirmed about Jeff and Shia, but like even refined, because Jeff and Shia had already a more refined understanding of that. So it was, for me, it was a very big confirmation of what I felt in my heart to be true about it. So I felt, you know, like they're like, yeah, it was just, they were confirming what I knew. And just as a bit of like something for us about twin flames, when we fully recognize that we are twin flames, I know this is going to sound very funny, but we only fully recognize that we are twin flame. And this is our little joke. It's like when we got into Harmonious Union, we're like, now we know that we're twin flames. Because until then we were like, we actually went through a process, even us being together for so long and people in the community saying that we're twin flames, we had to address this. Are we twin flames? Are we not? And we went through this experience. Like, if we're not twin flames, we want to find our twin flame. So we had to really address this with each other because it wasn't addressed in our union.
Yeah, like we started off like any relationship. So therefore we had to kind of start over in a way and reassess from the beginning of the relationship, look at our dynamics, see how some things were kind of soulmate based, and we had some codependency to like heal through, and we did that. So we had like this long process where we just reassessed over and over again. And
our relationship to make sure that we are the perfect fit for each other, not just like assume that we are.
Exactly, because I think like in the beginning we were just assuming, and after we can, I remember I had this moment when I saw in the open forum, currently Danny Kurtz was I think he was like posting about wanting to have like birth charts made for twin flames, like if somebody was in union and was willing to kind of donate their birth chart for him to like research a little bit about twin flame astrological birth charts. And I did that because I was like, yeah, that's easy, I can do that. So I connected with him and I gave him that. And afterwards I remember, okay, I was like, hey, I saw you posted that, I want to give my da. And he was like, okay, I can take it, and we exchanged that. And I said something, here is my information and here is my twin flame's information. And then he asked me, but how do you know that he's actually your twin flame? And I was like, dun, dun, dun. Oh no, how do I actually know that he's my twin flame? Gasp, and I was like, ooh. And I remember I was like fumbling with something, and I was like, well, because like with dun, 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 and I answered something, but within myself I was like shaking, I was like, oh wait, actually, how do I actually know that he's my twin flame? I just assumed all this time, and it was like a scary thing to go through.
Yeah, we literally had to go through that, and it was challenging for us in that moment because it felt like, oh no, like what then? Like it feels like we had to rethink our life.
Yes, we had to like reassess our whole life. It was bananas.
Yeah, and like that's why I'm saying, like when we got in Harmonious Union, then we can relax.
Yes, it was like everything is fine.
But we did recognize each other as twin flame even before. Just
I see. You know what I really like receive a lot from everything that you're sharing is you have this attitude towards everything that you're approaching and healing, where you're really assessing things. And, of course, that's what Jeff and Julia teach, but it's just like really amazing to see, just the way you talk and the way you explain things and the way you also describe your experiences of really, also picking apart your experience with the healing method, the mirror exercise that Jeff and Julia often really looking at it. Is it superior to any other healing modality we tried before? Is it energetically and efficiency wise really making sense for us to do this? Or is there any other method that is better out there? And you did, you approached the whole, you thinking that your twin flames feeling that in the same way of, okay, we have that, let's really assess that and pick that apart and get to the very core of that and find out the truth. And that's, thank you for sharing it that way. It's really amazing to just hear it be put that way and, see you way of thinking.
Yeah. I personally really connected with Jeff and Julia because they weren't just woo. Like the teachings of union is really grounded as well, and you have logical steps, and you can assess like where you are in your journey. And I really love that, and I really loved it. I think it's in one of the first classes Jeff says that this is not just like spiritual woo ungrounded, you have to get high and
it's not just love and light.
Yeah, it's not just love and life. It's like actual 3D reality that you can look at and kind of scientifically prove. And for me, that was something that allowed me to like relax into these teachings. And also I think like naturally I think this way, and I it's just part of like my own process. So therefore I felt very, very good in that, because I wasn't really always connecting with the, oh my God, let's get all of the light, happiness. I wasn't really connecting with that all the time. I was like, I appreciate that for what it is, and I can be that, but we need to like look at the numbers, so to say, also.
This is actually one of the qualities or like the skills that I really like admire a lot about you, and like I really look up to you for, is like you I guess like your healing mastery, healing skills, like just like the way you approach your healing. And I mean, Laurentiu, like you're my coach. I mean, you both are in a way, but like, that's the reason I'm coaching with you. But that's like what every time when you talk, I just like learn a lot from you. It's like you've kind of developed this like divine thinking. I don't really know what else to call it. Is it like, how would you call it? What is it that you're doing?
I would say that I hear it in my mind to allow God to allow myself to align my mind with God's mind.
Yeah.
How did you guys hear that? No, that's perfect. Just digging deeper. How did you go about healing that?
Well, first of all, I was having upsets about my thought pattern and how like I wasn't able to have a clear thinking. I was not happy with my thought process, so therefore I had to heal about my thought process, and I was having to go through that. And that's one thing. But like what helped me to really realize that I wasn't happy with my thought pattern was, like, for me personally, was video games. Because in video games you need to have a lot of there's a lot of thought behind it. And if you, let's say I played all kinds of video games, and I play some of the video games that require a lot of thinking to be done, or a lot of like strategies to be made, and I would have a very bad result with my strategy, let's say. And I wasn't happy with that. So I kind of helped me to see that there was something that wasn't proper in my way that I was processing or like thinking about things. So therefore in that I just had to heal, and then I moved through just those upsets with mirror exercise, and then I got to that clarity. Plus, not just that, but I feel like even our interaction personally with Jeff and Julia helped us to really refine that to a whole new level that we didn't have before. Because us working in Divine Gaming with Jeff and Julia really hone us into being able to like develop a way of thinking, a way of like seeing things much more clear and much more accurate.
Yes, I think one of the personal pieces of discipline that Jeff and Julia have given us at some point in time was that we are very tolerant of having unclarity in our life, for things to not be clear. And we're still working through it by all means. Like, we're not, from my point of view, we still have a lot to grow and learn in this area. Like, it's because I feel like we just have a lot to learn. I feel like we have grown a lot, but at the same time, we have a lot to learn as well in this place. And ever since kind of Jeff and Julia gave us that piece, I was like, that is true. Let's work on this. And I think like we did our best to work through it, and we're still working through it in various ways in our lives. So I think that's one of the core pieces of discipline that helped us get here, and we wouldn't have been able to have this like without Jeff and Julia and like their support here. And also another one that's kind of related to having a high tolerance to uncertainty is having a high tolerance to pain or suffering, which is like accepting a high degree of pain in your life. And that's also like not the divine way to live into. So it's all about aligning yourself in living a divine life. So therefore, for that, you're always clear because you're connected with God. And when you're with God, you can always provide an answer, because the answer lies within the problem always. God wouldn't give you a problem without a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, this was something that I watched the Twin Flame Ascension School class a few days ago, and Jeff was addressing this with a student being like, why is it that when I ask you a question, you take so long to answer, but when you ask me a question, I have the answer instantly? And it was because of this relationship with God, because when you heal your relationship with God in this place, you are able to have immediately the answer.
Yeah, and like it is like, healing your relationship with God, like when it comes to hearing and just listening to Him, and that's how you're able to have this thought pattern that's more healthier.
Yeah, and accepting maybe you hear Him, but maybe you don't follow through, or don't believe it, or have doubts about it. So there's all of these kind of things. And I'm personally healing about, trusting my intuition more, trusting what I hear from God more, and just being stronger and more confident in that space. So it's all of that healing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing this. This is very, very powerful.
Yes, and like we're happy to share. And also maybe for our listener, is like, do you have like a high tolerance to be uncertain about who your twin flame is, or what your life purpose is, or find those gaps where it doesn't quite make sense and figure them out and heal in those spaces, because that's how you will get clear on who is your twin flame and what's your life purpose, and you're going to have clarity about how to move forward in your journey.
Yeah, and don't use hope as a way of saying that you're not unclear, you're just hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not supporting you, that's still unclear. In this the teaching of union, we don't hope things will go right. We heal, and we do the action to be able to have the clarity of how things to move forward in the best way for us.
Yeah, and the answer might be surrender, but at least you're clear that the answer is surrender. I have to surrender here and go back to God, for example. Yeah.
It was one thing that you just said that was so funny, because you just said we heal, and then Alexandra, you said, and we know, and it just remembered me of this, like in Game of Thrones, there's this like line from, what's his name, Tyrion, where he says, I drink and I know things. And we have kind of things like we heal and we know things.
Yes, we heal and we know things, guys. That's how we do.
Yeah. Well, this is actually, we're nearing the end of today. I have one very last question for you that I ask you to answer, maybe potentially in one sentence. If you could go back to the very beginning of your twin flame journey and give that version of yourself from back then one piece of advice or piece of guidance or a message, what would that be?
Here is the mirror exercise and find Jeff and Julian as soon as possible.
Okay.
For me, trust your intuition.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thank you too very much for being here today. This was really a pleasure to talk to you. And it was, just really interesting to hear more about your twin flame journey and also about the beginning stages of your union and you coming together. So thank you.
Thank you for having us. It was really fun.
Yep.
And also for everyone who was joining us today, if you desire to find out more about how you can heal twin flame separation at the core, you can go to twinflamesuniverse.com, where we also have an absolutely amazing 8-part email lesson course where you can basically learn everything you need to know about how to heal twin flame separation and really get the basics and set yourself up for success. So head over to twinflamesuniverse.com and subscribe for that free course. I highly recommend that. And otherwise, we will be back next week with a new episode of our podcast. And I wish all of you many blessings on your twin flame journey to harmonious union, and see you next time.